Derita, derita, derita. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, okay. Hop, 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 hop. No le mueva. Asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I wanted to go over my equipment. So basically, what equipment did I purchase for my didactic and then my clinical year. So for example, like the otoscopes, stethoscope, etc. And basically, which ones do I recommend? And I actually made a previous video about this earlier, but I didn't have the utensils with me, or I didn't have the equipment with me, and this time I do. Sorry guys, I've been moving back and forth, and so now that I have it with me, I'm like, I'm gonna make this video. So hopefully this video is helpful for you guys. For those of you who are about to start didactic year, or about to start PA school, I know that when I started PA school, we had gotten an email of basically the things that they recommended that we needed, and on one of them it was equipment like your otoscopes. And so I was very unsure on which type to purchase because I just saw the prices and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money. I don't have that money. And so I ended up going the cheap route, which I do not recommend if you've seen my previous video. Like, I don't recommend it at all. I ended up getting really, really cheap equipment. I got it through Amazon. It was about $110, $120 what I paid for the equipment. It lasted me one semester and then it broke after that. So I was really upset with it. It was really bad. So I really recommend that you invest in your equipment, in good equipment. Welch Allen is fantastic. Welch Allen is a brand that you see in clinics all the time, in hospitals. It's the otoscopes that are usually connected to the wall. It's the otoscopes that most of the doctors, PAs, nurse practitioners use, and that's what my program was offering. And definitely get it through your program. Usually, for example, with my program, they were offering a huge discount instead of you having to go to the website, because if you go to the website without the discount, it's a lot of money. It's probably more than $1,000. But if you go with your university or if a large group purchases it, I definitely recommend it because you can get it up to 50% off. And that's what I ended up doing afterwards, after I ended up purchasing the cheap one. And so I have my equipment with me right now. I really recommend the Welch Allen. And you can actually purchase different types. They have different types of otoscopes, ophthalmoscopes. It really depends, up to you. But I always try to go simple, and I think it's the best. I know, for example, for some of the ophthalmoscopes, they even had this, I'm sorry, I'm not really good with the terminology, but it was like a panoscope, and it basically goes in the eye, and it's supposed to give you a lot more detail, and you're able to see the eye a lot better. Because I know as medical providers, we're not really good with our ophthalmoscope exams. We're not really good at all, and I can say that from personal experience for me also is that I'm not good with my ophthalmoscope exams because it really takes practice. And so purchasing one of those huge ones was just, I mean, it was appealing to me since I was like, you know what, it does a lot more, you can focus a lot more better. But in the end, I just ended up using one of these, just your regular one. So I'm really, really happy I did that. So basically, it comes with one of these. As you can see it, it says Welch Allen, and this is one of the cases that it comes with. The cases come in two different types. You have your hard case and then you have your soft case. I ended up getting the soft case. And then you have the base, of course. So the base comes in different types. I ended up getting this one because some of my classmates were saying this one was the one that they really liked. So some of them are like electronic, some of them are battery based. It really depends upon your preference, but I don't think it matters. And then of course you have your head. So this is a regular ophthalmoscope, and this is actually one of the newer ones. I know some of my classmates have purchased previous editions, and this is actually one of the newer ones. Just go like this. Sorry guys, I haven't used this in forever. And there you go. You can see it. Yep. So you have the ophthalmoscope. And then you have also your otoscope. So same with the otoscopes, they had different heads. I ended up just going with the regular ones. I feel like this is the one that I use a lot more during my clinical rotations, was your ophthalmoscopes. It's been my best friend, especially during your pediatric rotation. I looked into ears every day, back in the throat so many times, so this was my best friend during that rotation. So I really recommend, if you can, to invest in some of these. And I know some of the nurse practitioners and PAs, I work with them, they had purchased these while they were in school, and they still use them once they graduated in clinic, because some of the ones that I had shadowed, for example, some of the clinics, some of the ones on the walls weren't working, or they just preferred to have their own one in their pocket. So it's really nice to just have this in your pocket, pull it out, and be able to see the patient. And it also comes with these. Of course, I usually take the ones that are in clinic. So these are the let's see, go like this, you put it on here. And yeah, so basically, how much did I spend? I think it was like $600 for this, and this was with the discount. This was like the cheaper ones. I know some of my classmates spend like $800, $900 for like better heads, because the heads change, also the bases change, so it really depends on your preference and how much you're willing to spend. Also, for your didactic year, you need these, at least for my program you need them, because we have a class where you learn how to do physical examinations, how to do proper otoscope exams, ophthalmoscope exams. So you have to definitely make sure that you have them. But I still think it's a good investment, especially if you're doing some of your clinical rotations. You'll go to areas where they might not have them stuck to the wall. Although the majority of them, I did see these like stuck on the wall, so you would just pull them out. But for example, for my pediatric rotation, I used it a lot. And I know some of my classmates also used it a lot for their ER rotation, family medicine rotation. This was just for me. It's basically a tape measure. Since we do have OSCEs on some of for my exams, so my OSCE for your you have OSCEs for your clinical rotation. So basically, what is an OSCE? So for every rotation, you have your end of rotation exam, which is literally on the last day of your rotation. That's why it's called end of rotation, and it's a multiple choice exam, 120 questions. That's worth 40% of my grade. And then you have an OSCE. So basically an OSCE is, and medical schools have this also, is that they give you a fake patient, and you go in and you see the patient. Your professor's sitting there. It's very nerve-wracking, and I always get really nervous with them. Sometimes I screw up because I can't think straight because I'm just so nervous. But they're getting you to see how you approach the patient, what questions you ask them, whether you ask them the appropriate questions, the physical examination that you do. So of course, during your pediatric rotation, you might get otitis media, a complaint like otitis media, which is ear pain, for example. And that's where you have to pull out your otoscope exam, and you have to make sure you do the otoscope exam properly, etc. But then like during one of my rotations, like my ER rotation, I had DVT, which is deep vein thrombosis. So with DVT, book-wise, right, book medicine, I don't think I've seen doctors do this yet in clinic, but basically what you do is, what is a deep vein thrombosis? It's just basically a thrombus that is that happens on your calf, and patient will present with calf pain. And to see the difference between the calves and to see whether they do have a DVT is you measure the width. So you measure the circumference of the thigh, the calf, and you compare it to the other calf. And so this is why I ended up purchasing this one for my OSCE. So it's not something that you need, but I mean, if you can, it would be good just in case you get, depends on what topic you get, because you don't know what topic you're gonna get. So I always try to be safe. Also, I ended up purchasing this. I ended up purchasing it also through the Welch website. This is where I carry my equipment. This is where I put my stethoscope, and this is where I put also my equipment, like my otoscope, of course, inside the soft case. And that's, I keep it in my car, keep it in the back of my car, and that way I'm not carrying everything separately. Because you imagine carrying the soft case and then carrying your stethoscope. Next thing I have is my stethoscope. So I ended up purchasing a case for my stethoscope because I scratched my stethoscope and I was really upset about it. So I definitely recommend a case if you can. What I used to do is I used to just keep the stethoscope in my white coat, and then on top of that I had pens in there, and I got my stethoscope, I got ink all over it, and it hasn't come off, and I'm really, really upset. So another thing that I recommend is, if you can, get a dark color, guys. This was actually a gift, and I love pink, so my sister knows me very, very well. She ended up getting me this. And of course, like during my surgery rotation, which is my third rotation, like I said, I usually kept this in my pocket, in my lab coat pocket, my white coat. And so I put it in there, and then on top of that, you want to make sure that you always have pens. I don't have pens with me, but you always want to make sure that you have pens during your clinical rotations, because you're always taking notes, and not only one pen, multiple pens, because your preceptors, the doctors, anyone that you're with will steal pens and they won't give them back to you. I don't think I ever asked someone back for my pens, so you have to make sure you have a lot of them. And so sometimes when I was like really nervous or I was flustered or I had to do so many things, I would stuff this in my pocket because it hurt after a while having it over my neck. It just bothered my neck. And so I stuffed this in my pocket, and then I would stuff my pens in my pocket. Sometimes they didn't have caps. And so, of course, I got ink all over it. And I've been trying to get the ink off of it. I tried Clorox. I tried a lot of things, and I haven't been able to take the ink off of it. So if you can, guys, get a dark colored stethoscope. I know these are bright and they're super cute, but you have to be really careful with them. And so, yeah, and I also bought a case. I got this off of Amazon. I think it was like 10 bucks. So I recommend also a case so you can take care of your stethoscope. And yeah, that's basically what I use, and I take the clinic every day. Definitely I've used my stethoscope a lot during rotations. Certain rotations you won't use it, like my psychiatry rotation, I never took it out, never ever took it out. So some rotations you won't use them. Some of your equipment, like I said, your otoscope and ophthalmoscope, sometimes you won't use them in certain rotations, but I always make sure that I had them in the back of my car, just in case I didn't, the clinic didn't have equipment, or usually sometimes it just depends. So just make sure that you always have it in the back of your car or somewhere near you. So I always carry this with me. I put my stethoscope in here, and I have my equipment there. So I recommend also pens, like I said, pens, I can't say that a lot. And also having like a small, like compatible notebook when you're in clinic for writing notes. I always make sure I'm writing notes, whether it's something new I learned or if it's a disease I've never heard of. I know certain rotations I'll come in and it's like this really cool disease I've never heard of, and I write it down so I can go home and just research it. So make sure that you also bring a notebook so you can write down notes. For my rotations also, we're required to input every patient that we see. This is going to help us to learn how to use medical records, etc., because I think medical records or EMR is just so confusing, and this has somehow has made it a lot more simpler, and you get in the habit of meeting your patients and in the habit of diagnostic codes, etc. And so make sure that you're bringing also a book. I had to take notes on every single patient I saw, what treatment we had for them, what was the complaints, what diagnosis we gave them, what follow-up they're gonna do, whether we referred them anywhere else, and also if you saw new cool stuff or new things that you didn't know, so you can go home and research it. So make sure you always have pens, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for the doctor that you were working with. For my surgery rotation, my doctor always lost his pens, was always asking for them for mine. So make sure you always have a lot of pens with you, and put the cap on them, because I have so many pen marks on my white coat. So many pen marks, because I would just put them in here in my lab coat all the time whenever I was just flustered or I was moving back and forth. And so yeah. Alright guys, thanks for watching my videos. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I can't say enough that make sure that you invest in a good stethoscope. I know some of my classmates, this one's Littman. I know some of my classmates didn't get Littman, they got other brands and they kind of regretted it. And make sure that you also get a good diagnostic kit. So make sure you get a good ophthalmoscope, otoscope, etc. Make sure you get, I really like Welch. Make sure you don't go through the cheap route, because then you have to pay double, which I did. Don't recommend it. And it's not only going to help you during your didactic year, it's going to help you during your clinical year. And also, like I said, some of the PAs and nurse practitioners I work with used it once they graduated. So make sure you invest in them. Alright guys, I hope you guys like this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.